Hi everyone, it's Tawney. I'm not feeling the best right now. I'm just kind of like emotionally drained, but also at the same time like overwhelmed by emotions. Try not to cry because it's not that big of a deal. So I wanted to film this video for a couple days now, but I've had some technical issues, so I hope I can get through it this time. I feel like I've already previously filmed part of this, so I have some of these in order, but some of them are not, but I basically know like the order and stuff. So I am reviewing Colourpop palettes. Well, I'm not so much reviewing, but I'm ranking all of my Colourpop palettes and contemplating depotting some and then getting rid of whatever's left in those palettes, if that makes sense. So the first palette I'm going to talk about is the Truly Madly Deeply palette, and I believe these are in order. So you'll see, like, you'll get a trend, or you'll get like a feel of what's to come. But this palette, when it first came out, I was super excited to get it. I really liked the color story. Like, the pictures were just really nice. And I feel like pictures are so deceiving of palettes that it almost is like, it convinces me I need a palette, even though if I'd see it in person before pictures online, I wouldn't want it. Like, the pictures online kind of like push me to want things. Like the Glam palette from Natasha Denona that I just bought, I'm pretty sure now, thinking back after I've had it and seen all the reviews and stuff, if I had seen it in person before seeing stuff about it online and like pictures online where they can edit things, I probably wouldn't have bought it. So this is one similar to that. I really like all of the shimmers, and I don't really use the glitters, but I do like the shimmers in here, especially this one. It's really pretty, but I don't ever use it that much. So I'm honestly thinking of just getting rid of the entire thing. And there's also two shades in here, these purples at the bottom, the two on the ends, that they're mattes with a little bit of shimmer thrown in them, but they're still considered mattes, which I don't like that formula. I don't think anybody does. Like, it doesn't bother me because I'll still use it like it's a matte, but it's just kind of annoying that like you don't want a shimmer in it and then it has it and it's like, what was the point? Like, why? Call it a shimmer or call it a matte. Don't do it in between thing. So I think this is one I might declutter, and I'm gonna put this at the bottom of the list, just because I don't feel like it's one that, like, it doesn't make me happy. The next one is the Sweet Nothings palette, and it is a purple themed palette. It's a little bit purple slash like neutrals palette. I bought this years ago. It was one of my first few palettes, like first 5 or so. I really like the color scheme at first, and I like all the shimmers in here. I feel like I've used them a good bit, but I have these shimmers in other palettes, and I just don't think this is one I ever gravitate towards. Plus the 4 colors at the very bottom are very dark and bland looking to me, like just looking at it now. And I have better purple palettes from Colourpop. So I think this is one I'm also going to get rid of, and it's going to be number 2 at the bottom, because it's slightly better than the Truly Madly Deeply, but still not like the greatest. Yeah. The next one is the Flutter By palette. It is again another purple palette. I bought it solely for this glitter shade and haven't used it once. So if that says anything, and it has a star, an asterisk, which means you're not supposed to use them on your eyes. Or this doesn't tell you you're not, oh, it says not intended for use in the immediate eye area. What is the point of putting a glitter in an eyeshadow palette that doesn't go in your eye, that doesn't go around your eye? Like, what's the point? Don't call it an eyeshadow palette then. Call it a shadow palette, call it a pigment palette. Call it something other than an eyeshadow palette, because then it takes away from the like point of what this item is. Like, I don't know. I really like this color down here, so I think I might take that out. But honestly, the rest of this I could just get rid of because I have better purple palettes, and I don't particularly like this one. So it's gonna go as third. The next one is the She palette, which is in collaboration with Karusha, which I don't know who that is. I really like all of the shimmers in here, and I like that they did a more shimmers and then a couple like staple mattes like for the palette. Like you have your dark purple and your burgundy, and then I think this is like a, yeah, like a pinkish color, like a magenta-y color. So you can like pair different looks, and then you have your shimmers to go with it. So I think that was a really good, like, I think that was a good step for Colourpop to do. I think I'm gonna keep this palette, but I'm gonna rank it pretty low because it's just not what I gravitate towards, but the shimmers are really pretty, so it makes me wanna get it out and use it like with other palettes. So I'm gonna put that further toward the top. The next one I have is the Sweet Talk palette, and I don't use this like at all. I honestly use this to put my phone and camera on when I'm filming at my desk. So if that says anything about the palette. I've seen a picture of a palette that kind of reminded me of this, but it had more greens and like yellowy colors, and that's almost what I wish this one would have been. I bought this whenever it was first hyped up. I think Robbie DeCrissi was the first one to do a review that like got everybody excited about it. And while I do like the colors in it, I really like it has some pinks. It does have 2 repeating pinks. These 2 are basically the same pinks, which I kind of hate because then it's like you're paying for the same color twice. And if you're going to use that color, that's great, but like nobody really goes through a palette that quickly that they would want the same shade twice, unless it's like a glittery shimmer shade that everyone gravitates towards. So I think I'm actually going to put this one below the She palette because I just don't ever reach for it, and I just don't honestly, I don't know. I might honestly declutter it or give it to my sister because I'm not sure if she has it, and I know she likes Colourpop and like good makeup and such. So the next one is the Orange Glad 9-Pan palette, and this was part of their color series. I really like the colors in here, and it's a very nice bright palette. I want to try and use this a little bit more for like fall, even though it's already like the end of October. I still like, you can wear fall looks up until December, and even then you can still like do some things that are a little bit more like muted for winter. I honestly just wear whatever colors I want any time of the year because, you know what I mean? Makeup has no rules, it just has theories, and that's not really a theory in my mind. So I don't like the glitter in the middle just because I don't like the glitters. Again, this is another one that you're not supposed to use on your eyes, but it doesn't have the mark beside it, which is kind of weird that it doesn't have that, but I think it should because it seems like one you wouldn't put around your eyes. I really like this as an orange palette. I think I've used it once or twice, even though the film is still on the mirror. It doesn't look like I've used it, but I'm pretty sure I have. So I'm gonna have to get more use out of this, and I'm gonna put this above the She palette because I do like it. It's just not one that I've used much. The next one is the Baby Got Peach 9-Pan palette. This one I use a lot more than the orange one, and I think it's like a more pastel muted version. I don't, again, like the glitters, I just don't use them. This one has a mark beside it to tell you not to use it. But I really like the shimmers in here, especially this one. I think it's really pretty. This is an easy one to do like very basic, your typical like neutrals and like with a little bit of a peachy thing. This one would go well with the Sweet Talk palette and like collaboration with it, you know what I mean, to use it alongside it. This is one I wouldn't really recommend unless this is like your color, like this is your color scheme or color story or whatever people want to call it. I am going to put this above the Orange Glad because I do use it more than that one, and I like it more than that one. Let's see. Next one is the Yes Please palette. I hate that it says Cute AF, but that's not what the palette is called. Like, why? So this was my very first eyeshadow palette. I bought this and She at the same time. It's my first two Colourpop palettes. Well, Colourpop, not eyeshadow palettes. I really like that it's more heavily matted, like more matte tones in there, because then I feel like it's easier for people to use and do more looks with, and then you can use different shimmers in different palettes, or you can stick with the shimmers in here. I really like this gold right here. I use that all the time. I am going to rank this above Baby Got Peach because I have used it more. It's one I want to get more use out of, like for matte wise and to do more like fall looks, but it's not one that I gravitate towards all the time. But I think it was a really good palette for Colourpop to come out with at the very beginning because it had those yellows and the red tones to it that we weren't used to seeing, and their formula is so good that it's definitely worth picking up. I have next the California Love palette, which I know is obviously going to go at the very tip top because I like this one so much. It's my color scheme. It's basically what I wanted the Natasha Denona palette to be for me, except for like the bright yellow I could like have gone without. But I mean, it goes well with this palette, so I'm not complaining. This was one that I saw the picture and was like, I have to have it. But this was one that I actually have used because it's more brown and like champagne, like it has more of that. I really like this. Cruisin' and Diego are my two favorite shimmers in here. But then I also like Surf Rider here because it kind of has a little bit of a tint to it. You can't really tell, but it does in a sense. But I really like this palette. It's not one that got very much hype because it was coming out when they were doing like bam, 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 bam with their releases, and it was like, oh my gosh, like it was kind of like ABH where you didn't let things have their moment and you just started coming out with something new, and it's like, wait a second, we want to enjoy the palette we have. We don't want to just have to go out and buy a new one. Even though these are like ridiculously cheaper, it's still like, that's a lot of money to be spending, you know, when you're like back to back to back to back to back. I have the Sandstone palette, which I was a little bit afraid to talk about because it has talks of cultural appropriation. I bought it before I realized that there was like an issue because I just thought I liked the colors in it. I mean, I do like the way it looks, but again, I can understand how it would be offensive to some and hurtful, and I think Colourpop should have issued an apology and tried to like change the packaging and just do something more like stay in your lane. so that way the palette didn't have to suffer for it. I've seen a lot of people say they don't like the color scheme. I think it's really pretty. I know for a fact I'm not going to use the 2 greens on the ends just because I don't ever reach for greens, or if I do, I reach for like something that's more heavy green than like these light ones. But I think a lot of these colors are really pretty, but I haven't used it, so it's not going to be ranked in this video because I haven't used it yet. Next is the Mulan palette, which I think is going to be like one of the top ones. This is one, I've watched a lot of Julia Mazzucato. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. I will link her channel down below. I've watched a lot of her videos and she raves about this palette, especially the reds. So I'm like, no, I need to do colors like that. Because if you've seen her makeup style and the way she does her makeup, it is so stunning. She does, like, I swear, every look that she does that's on her Instagram, that she puts in a YouTube video, is gorgeous. Like, she is so talented. And I know that she's fairly young because she's still going through college and stuff, but she is like probably the most talented makeup artist I've seen on YouTube in a long time. And that says something because we've seen a lot filter through, but I think she is like one of the better ones, and like up there with James Charles, honestly. But anyway, back to this palette. I really like the color scheme in here. This was when it reminded me of, I think, the birthday collection for Kylie. It was the one that came out around Labor Day. Aside from having the blue shimmer in it, I thought this one was like pretty similar. So then I was like, oh, well, I already have this palette, so I'm glad I like, you know what I mean? This is what I recommend everyone pick up if you're a Colourpop fan, if you're a Disney fan, if you like eyeshadow palettes. I think you should definitely check this out. It has a lot of like nice taupey cool tone colors over in here. It has your reds and a nice black, and then it also has some warm browns over here. So you can create different kinds of looks, and I think it's, I know Julia mentioned that it was similar to the Tawney Textured Neutrals palette, which is such a cool, like, that this palette looks so similar, that Colourpop could come out with something so good. So if you've been interested in checking that one out but don't have the money, you can definitely check this out as well. I definitely think they should carry this in Ulta so that more people can have access to it. So that one's going to go at the very tip top because it is like one of my favorites. And I've been using it a lot since I bought it. I have the Good as Gold palette, which again, I really like the color story of this. I really like the golds and stuff. The shimmers here in the middle row are really pretty, along with this one down here. I don't get as much use out of it just because I just don't, and I need to because it's really pretty. So I'm going to put this right above California Love because I do like it more than California Love, but I definitely need to use it more because it's so pretty, especially to do like gold looks and stuff. Like, I don't know what I'm waiting on, but I need to get on it. I have the Lilac You a Lot palette, which if you know me, you know this is one of my favorite Colourpop palettes. If you like purples, this is the way to go. If you're interested in any palette from Colourpop, check it out. I'm not saying it's their best one, but I think it's great. They do a really good job with the formulation of the purples. Purple's really hard to get right, and I think they did such a good job. And there's even some nice pastel purples and pinks in here that really can make, like, it can change your eye look. Like, you can do different looks, you know, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you can do deep looks, you can do pink looks, you can do more like between the two, you can do more lilac looks, you can do a lot of like sparkly looks, like with the shimmers. I am not good at describing makeup, but anyway, this is a really good palette and I would definitely recommend it. It's gonna go right below the Mulan palette just because I use it a little bit more, like it's more my color story. So I have the Night Owl palette. I bought this in place of the Going Coconuts palette because I saw it beside the Going Coconuts and thought it was more my thing. I really like the shimmers in here, like these two up here. Okay, this one's just a plain matte, but this one up here is so stunning, and so is the one in the middle. I really think this is a really nice palette. If you want to go for a little bit more of a warm tone palette, I would say this one over Going Coconuts, but then I've also seen that the Going Coconuts is more warm tone than the taupe palette that just came out, so keep that in mind. The taupe palette is very cool, then you have Going Coconuts, and then you would have Night Owl. So it just kind of depends on your preference. Definitely check them out on the website and see which one you're more interested in. I don't think you need all three because it just kind of depends on what you like, but this is definitely a good one. I'm going to put this right below Good as Gold. Next is Going Coconuts, and this is a really nice palette. I didn't want to get it at first, kind of like didn't really want to have it, but then I think I needed to get more in my cart, so at one point I eventually put it in my cart to get it, and I have used it a lot. I like all of the shimmers in here, even this shade, which is like one of their matte to shimmers, but it has more shimmer in it. I think it's a really pretty palette. I don't think it should be as hyped as it was, but that's just my personal opinion because I don't really gravitate toward these tones of browns. There's like a red brown, and then a lot of these are more like cool toned, even though I just bought a $65 cool toned palette. I'm trying to branch out, okay? I'm trying to try more looks, trying to do more things. It's more gray toned, whereas this is a little bit like not so gray toned. So that's just kind of like something to keep in mind. I'm gonna put this below the Yes Please palette. It's getting interesting. A lot different than I expected. The last one is the Kathleen Lights So Jaded palette. I was so stoked to get this. I was a huge Kathleen fan at the time. Not saying I'm not now, but like I really was at the time. I love all of these colors, especially the shimmers in here. They like perform so well. Like there's something Colourpop does so well with their shimmer shades that I am just so impressed. This shade is really good. This one is really good. My only gripe is this shade right here, the one called Diamond. It comes off oily, and I don't know if that's the intent. Like it kind of looks a little oily there, but when I put it on my eyelid, it's like oily. I just dropped a palette. I just dropped 2 palettes, oh my gosh. It comes off like oily, and it doesn't have like a base to it, which is so weird for like a palette that it doesn't. Okay, we're good. Okay, second one we have to check though, because I don't know. Oh, we're good, yay, okay. I'm gonna try not to knock them over now. But I don't like that it doesn't have a base color to it. I hate glitters that are just like glittery, but I guess maybe that was the point. I know Kathleen likes to use this all over the lid, just as like a random look, and I can't pull that off. I think my eyelids crease way too much. They're a little bit too oily for this. And then I think she might use it as like an inner and then her brow bone, and I can't use it that way either. I wish I could get more use out of that one, but that's the only one that really bothers me. I really like the purples and blues, and I did a look with them not too long ago where I also used an Odin's Eye palette, and I think they performed really well, especially together. I don't like the muted greens in here, these 2 greens. I think I could have done without them, but it's a collaboration palette, and it's what Kathleen prefers and what she likes, and she wanted to come out with more like a colorful palette, so you kind of have to keep that in mind, that she's not going to create it for like everyone else. She's going to create it for herself. And she also wanted to make everything like jewel tone. So I think that was kind of cool. I'm going to put this below I Like You a Lot and above Good as Gold because I do get a lot of use out of it. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So we have Truly Madly Deeply, Sweet Nothings, Flutter By, Sweet Talk, She, Orange You Glad, Baby Got Peach, Going Coconuts, Yes Please, California Love, Night Owl, Good as Gold, So Jaded, Lilac You a Lot, and the Milan palette. So I'm very intrigued by my choices and my order that I put these in. I think it's kind of interesting. Let me know if you would change the order, what your thoughts are, what palettes you like best. I definitely like seeing what all you guys prefer, and if there's any shades in like, well, not shades, but if there's any palettes in the Colourpop collection that you think are worth picking up, if you think they're better than some of these, if you think I should have them in my collection, because I'm definitely looking to buy more makeup just to kind of like spruce up my collection. I want to try and get more things that like I can do more looks with. I realize you don't need to have a lot of palettes, but palettes you like. And I'm starting to get into the whole Marie Kondo, like, if you don't like it, pitch it kind of thing. So, especially when I'm considering moving, just have to find the apartment first. That's first step. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell down below so you get notified when I upload. Check out my other videos and vlogs. Check out Julie Mazzucato. I will post her page down below. She is amazing. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.